Wir machen heute Morgen sehr, sehr groß weiter, und zwar mit Richard Socher. Und ich würde jetzt auf Englisch switchen. Die ersten Sessions, die wir heute haben, sind alle auf Englisch. Richard Socher has long worked at the intersection of research, of entrepreneurship, and of AI-driven visions of the future. And maybe he has helped shape a little or a lot how many of us actually think about language, about machines, and about artificial intelligence. As a scientist, as the CEO of U.com, and formerly as Chief Scientist at Salesforce. And today he joins us to share his perspective on the future of knowledge. And I'm actually really curious, when technical possibilities become our social realities, which futures actually take center stage? We talked about imaginaries yesterday, and which futures are then relegated to the sidelines. So very curious, and over to you, Richard. Very happy to have you today.
Thank you, and hello everyone. Wish I could be there. Thank you. Really excited about the future of knowledge, answers, agents, artifacts, AGI, and all of it accurately. Before I jump in, I want to basically say that one of my predictions is that universities really will have only a few years to integrate AI more properly. It is kind of a big wave coming in, sort of like the internet. You know, there are universities for a while that didn't have proper internet, and you just feel like, okay, these guys are just behind and they're not up to date. And I think something similar is happening with AI now. And we now also know that students of those universities that do not integrate AI will fall behind. And before we dive into this, I want to give you one really nerdy example of what AI can do, just to give you a sense of how much more productive, especially researchers, can be. Here's a pretty tricky query. I'll zoom in a little bit, and then we'll just have slides only afterwards. But this, I think, gives you a real case of, you know, what, for instance, U.com here and our deep research mode can actually accomplish for users. The query here is: collect 10 years of US sickle cell cost, hospitalization, and quality of life data, project lifetime outcomes with CRISPR-Cas9 and gene therapy versus a different kind of care, with survival cost models, Monte Carlo efficacy and price uncertainty, discounting, and then report the probability this gene therapy CRISPR-Cas9 is cost effective and what its break-even price would be. Right, so it's a fairly tricky query. And you can see from this query, the model will think, develop a plan, and then actually go in and research all of these different aspects of the question. And for each of these, it will go and find you real citations from the CDC, for instance. You can click into, and it'll actually scroll down and mark exactly where it found each fact and mark it up in the browser. It will collect all the different numbers and data sets for this. It will summarize it in tables. Then the next thing it will do is go through all the clinical trial results, FDA approval, current pricing, and so on. Again, go through all of this. Then it will go to the alternative treatment and look at its issues and things that it worked well for, and toxicities and so on. Like, you get the idea. It finds all these facts on the internet for you. It goes to 226 different websites, right? Then it will actually say, all right, now what we need to do here is we need to simulate the discounted lifetime costs and so on for this. So it puts all of this together, realizes it needs to write code for this, and now get this, it will actually program for you a Monte Carlo simulation to actually simulate this with the uncertainty of the efficacy and the price that you have in the future. Write all of that code for you, right? Then actually execute that code. You don't even have to run it anymore. It will run that code for you, and then visualize all of that in a histogram, summarize all the results, and literally produce these plots for you. These are all generated by the AI in that moment for that user in that query, right? And then give you a final summarized answer for you, the break-even price distribution, and so on. Like, if you just think about what that would have taken a student, a PhD, a professor of time to put all of that together, it would have been weeks. And when students have this at their fingertips, obviously education will have to change. When professors and administrators and researchers have this at their fingertips, they can be much, much more efficient in their work and save a ton of time. And so I'm just incredibly excited. This is just one of thousands of examples that we've seen from our users and what they're able to accomplish. And so I know a lot of folks are wondering right now whether the improvements are actually real. Maybe this is all just hype, and really we're all dumbing down because AI is, so much better of a mental calculator that students will not learn to think anymore. And I think, unfortunately, in the worst case scenario, which is there's no real rollout, no real plan of a university, you may just have students use it to cheat. Professors don't know what's possible. They don't ask the right questions. They don't adapt their curricula. They don't push students to think at higher levels. And then there might actually be some negative effects. At the same time, across 51 different studies in a meta-analysis that was literally just published a few days ago, they showed that the effect of ChatGPT, and would probably all be even more positive if it was U.com, but the effects of ChatGPT on students' learning performance, learning perception, and higher order thinking are actually all positive. There's a large positive impact on learning performance overall, and then moderate to small positive impacts on learning perception and higher order thinking. And so that is really interesting to know, and shows clearly that there is a real advantage if you incorporate this technology properly. And so just some concrete examples from U.com, universities we work with. Maryville University has been actually a long time user. We'll get into them in a little bit. Personally, I'm really excited about the Institute for Advanced Study, where Einstein and Oppenheimer worked for many years. They're obviously also, great pure research institute. They don't do much teaching. And then, of course, the Technische Universität Dresden. Really excited that they're leaning in. We actually worked with them. They did a very thorough study rolling out to more and more students. And we just closed a multi-year contract with them to really get all their students, all their faculty, full access to this. Not just one model, but all the different models, all of zero data retention, and the universities like adherence to all the privacy regulation and all the bureaucracy that we see. It's about 100x more paperwork to fill out for TU Dresden than for either Maryville University and Institute of Advanced Study in the US combined. But I'm personally just really excited to see that momentum in Germany now too. And I'm originally from Dresden, and studied in Leipzig and Saarbrücken and Montpellier before doing my PhD in the US. But yeah, really exciting to see that momentum. And what's also interesting is there are actually different ways that universities are using it. The Maryville University setup was actually that they started using it mostly for administrators and professors. And those actually have reported saving 6 hours of work per week, with some saving over 25 hours. Basically, it did half of their work for them. So if you learn how to do this, you get certified and so on, can literally save half of your week's work for you. Hopefully work that time you can spend in better ways. Massively increased numbers of queries over time. And what's interesting also, we did a study together with them with nursing students, and those that actually made more queries per week did test higher on their final exams than their class averages. So it's the students that use this technology as a real tutor, their own sort of private tutor, that really benefit from it. And you know, it really is like the most patient teacher that also over time can pick up things that you struggle with and that you understand very quickly. And so been very happy to see kind of more and more usage increasing almost every month that this has been rolled out. And also them kind of saying this has empowered our faculty to streamline all the choices of the different AI models. You know, every other week there's a new AI model on u.com, they're all available. And so I think that's also important to kind of future-proof any partnership. You know, one day OpenAI is the best one, then Anthropic comes out, then there's an open source model, and you want to be able to access all of these with good privacy standards as well. And so you might ask, well, why, like, you know, how can u.com even compete with some of these big guys? But this is a sneak peek. Don't post this online anywhere yet. We're releasing this on Thursday this week. But we actually asked the most advanced model of OpenAI, which of the research modes of u.com and our advanced research and insights mode ARI, or OpenAI deep research mode, which one gives you better responses for these longer reports, like real life, real world use cases with long prompts and complex instructions. And we've been working on this particular deep research area for a very long time now. All of these benchmarks are going to be publicly available, open source. You can rerun it. You can see the outputs. You can see the prompts and can verify that indeed it is possible to beat OpenAI even with a tiny fraction of its funding. And there's some public benchmarks like the Frames evaluation tool, where we beat all the other models that have reported results on this. So that is kind of high level and some concrete things that we're doing at u.com with AI. But then maybe zooming out a little bit, it'll be interesting to kind of jam for just 5 minutes or so on where the world is actually going. And here are some of my predictions from the end of 2023. At the time, several folks laughed at me for saying this is completely unrealistic. But as you can see here, and I have the timestamps to back it up, most of these things actually did happen. So number one was that we're going to see an open source model catch up to GPT-4, and companies eventually using full LLM operating systems to make these models production ready. This was a bit of a cheat code because we're working ourselves on these operating systems, and so we knew this was going to happen. But indeed, the open source models have also caught up to GPT-4. There's still some closed models that are better, but we're distributing queries more and more and often seeing open source models win. We're also seeing AI-generated videos, images, music, and so on come up more and more. We're seeing AI agents being able to use powerful tools, right? You saw that one prompt in the beginning. It resulted in several dozens of queries going to hundreds of different websites and collecting data from those sites. These kinds of tool uses, programming for you, eventually even browsing the web for you, but also searching the web for you. Those are all going to become more and more common, and actually are a big part of why the hallucination problem is not very strong anymore. One particular area I'm personally extremely excited about is AI in the progress that it will bring in biology. I think you can actually think of calculus as the right language for physics, and AI being the right language for biology. Why? Because in many cases in biology, we actually understand all the individual units, one bacteria in our gut, one neuron in the brain, one cell in any of our organs. But then as we put them together, all of a sudden, there are emerging properties that are very hard to predict, and that we're also seeing in AI models. We understand every artificial neuron, but as we have put enough of them together, train them on enough data, and have billions of parameters, all of a sudden we can have a conversation with that model. And 20 years ago, it would have seemed impossible if you asked all the NLP experts whether you can fully solve the Turing test. And in fact, at this point now, I coined that we even have a reverse Turing test, where the best way to understand if this is an AI that you're speaking to is you're asking a question that is so hard humans couldn't answer it, and the AI will just answer it in 5 seconds, and then you know it's an AI, not the other way around anymore. And so in biology, it's actually not crazy anymore to assume with all the speed ups we're seeing in drug development and so on, that we'll be able to tackle more and more diseases better and better until in the next few decades, there's a potential to cure most of the major diseases. And then at that point, set our goals even higher and get people to live even longer and healthier lives. So a lot of excitement there. I can talk about startups that we're investing in at AIX Ventures through my venture fund, but I'll go into this year where we'll see still more power and work towards superintelligence. I'm personally very excited also to find ways to contribute back in research and work on superintelligence with recursively self-improving models that do AI research on themselves. I think one thing we're already seeing now is that some of these models, and this example I showed you in the beginning, gets to the level for a specific kind of task of a PhD student. However, we also know that most jobs don't even require a PhD. And so a lot of times the models, the open source models that are nice because universities can also study them because they're cheap and open source. You can run them yourself on your own hardware, are good enough for a lot of workflows that we're seeing in the world. And so that's really exciting. We're going to see a lot of disruption also when agents start surfing the web, but the web is dependent on advertisement, and agents that do work for you won't necessarily click on advertisement. And I think I'll maybe just end on a note here, which is these agents are one instance, these personal tutors are another instance, personal healthcare teams will be a third that is coming up already. It's almost negligent if you get a complex medical diagnosis and you're not asking AI for a second opinion. But these are all examples of a state where technology can really deeply scale because there's enough consumer demand. And when that happens, you get into places where a billionaire and a middle-class teenager use the same device every day, like an iPhone, right? It's kind of incredible. And you can now think about what are the goods and services that only billionaires have access to right now that are bottlenecked on intelligence. And several of those are personal tutors for their kids, personal healthcare teams, personal assistants that will do work for you, that you can delegate things to. And those will all become accessible for more and more people over time when AI continues to scale. And I think that will be objectively better, just like objectively now, it's better that we all have showers and warm water and other things that, hundreds of years ago, even the wealthiest people didn't really have. So really exciting transformations. I'll pause there so we have some more time for questions.